Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags and Metal Reviews. And today we're getting our first impressions of the new releases from Baroness, Shade Empire, Brujeria, and TesseracT. So 4 albums today. There was a bunch of albums that came out today, but we're covering 4 of them.
And a few that were postponed. It would have been more, but a few of them got delayed to next
That's
week.
right, Violet's Murder got delayed, Stain got delayed.
Mainly, it was just those two.
Bring Me the Horizon was also supposed to come out today,
yeah.
but then that was a weird thing with that, where now it's in January apparently.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're covering these 4. I started my day off with Shade Empire. Just kind of picked one randomly. So I guess we'll start with that one, talking about that one. The album's called Sun Holy. This is pretty much my first exposure to Shade Empire. TV Fish has listened to them before and has recommended them, but I've never had a chance to check them out other than today. I was actually pretty impressed. I was pretty surprised and like, holy crap, this is pretty good stuff. So the band is advertised as a black metal band, and I'm listening to it going, okay, this is black metal, but it's not that blackened. Like the first couple songs, I'm like, this doesn't sound that dark and that mean like I'm used to with black metal.
I saw them as a prog band myself.
Yeah, they're definitely progressive too. So I guess, I don't know, when I looked them up on Google, I'm pretty sure it said black metal.
Genre schmonra.
Genre schmonra.
It's a tough discussion always.
But either way, I feel like this band is just so eclectic because they do bring a lot of different things to the table. So as I was listening to them, I'm going, okay, I'm getting kind of like Dimmable Gear vibes. It's got some very striking synth, symphonic elements, which is like akin to Dimmable Gear. And then there's a bit of some like shag rat style vocals on some of the songs. But then I start hearing, like in song number 2, for example, The Apostle, it reminds me a lot of Sonata Arctica, like very similar. So I'm like, you kind of take those 2 bands and combine them, and that's kind of what you're getting with this. But then I'm getting Western Apocalypse vibes, I'm getting all these weird things, and they're throwing stuff at you that you're not expecting. So there's synth, all of a sudden a saxophone solo, there's a couple songs that have a guest appearance by a person called Aku Kolari, which is a saxophonist. And he brings saxophone elements, solos to these songs that just give it so much flavor and character. That was just really impressing me. I had a really fun time listening to the album overall. Lots of cool things going on. Drumming was good. Just, I was pretty impressed. On a first impression, pretty good.
Shade Empire is a band that I checked out 10 years ago when I was checking out all of these prog metal bands, and this is one that I found. And they had a new album at the time called Omega Arcane. I haven't listened to it in years. I remember liking it back then. And they also released an album, I think it's called Poetry for the Ill-Minded in 2017. I didn't get the chance to check that out, but they got this one, Sun Holy, so I'm like, okay, yeah, let's check out Shade Empire again. It's been a long time. And it's funny you said that The Apostle sounds like Sonata Arctica. I was thinking it would sound like Symphony X. Like, that song is reminding me like, okay, this is why I like this band. It's all coming back. Proggy goodness. Like I said, I would consider this a prog metal band myself. Like I said, genre is always a difficult discussion. Is it black metal? Is it this? Is it that?
Especially with bands that are all kind of all over the place with what they're doing.
Exactly. And the synth stuff is really cool, especially in this Coffin and Island. I like that the synth has a lead there. You know, it's not like a background thing. It's actually like driving the direction of the song, and I like that. And then saxophone shows up, like, okay, we got saxophone now. And it was awesome. Came back again in the all-consuming flame. There's this, in the song Torn Asunder, like in the quiet part, they start swinging, which is really, really cool. You do not hear that often in metal. Really, you don't hear the jazz stuff like that often. Maroon is a song that, like, I think that's a really good example as to how you crank the energy back up. After bringing it down in the middle, you got this cool down halfway through the album. You need to crank it back up. Maroon is a really good example of how to do that effectively. And I like that a lot. Overall, I did like this album quite a bit. It has a lot of variety, it touches a lot of bases, and it does all of them well. Like, it goes to a bunch of different places, and with every kind of musical concept idea that they touch, they do a good job with it, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, like, overall. I'm glad that they got a good one. Up next, let's talk about Brujeria.
Okay.
This album is called Esto es Brujeria. We did react to Mochado, which was one of the singles for this album, and we were saying, like, okay, like, there's this vocal style that, like, sounds like intentionally sloppy, where he's not really in time with the rest of the band. And it's like, it's a really chaotic kind of sound, but it's like, you're kind of...
how it works, though.
You're tiptoeing between it working and it not working by doing that.
Yeah.
You know, because when it works, it's like, okay, cool, this is chaotic and crazy. Who knows what's going on?
Yeah.
But when it doesn't work, it just sounds very unorganized and disjunct. A bit messy. So I was a bit worried that the album was going to sound like that and have that issue, but it's actually a pretty good album. I was finding myself enjoying a lot of riffs. Like, oh wow, yeah, they're throwing down here. Oh, this is kind of nice. Or like, oh man, like literally Tu Vida Loca, I just wrote, this is a Circle Pit song. Mm-hmm. Like that groove is like the groove for a Circle Pit. Really, really cool stuff. I think it's the title track, they got like these trumpets and horns in it as well. I thought that was really cool, especially considering that these guys' style is maybe more in the realm of like death metal. Mm-hmm. So to have that in there makes it a lot more interesting. And they got this bass focus section in it, and then a really cool breakdown. It's a pretty consistent sounding album. Yeah. It's not like it goes on some kind of crazy journey or whatever, or any big concept. It's like straight up some good death metal riffs here and there. Near the middle of Testamento 3.0 though, there's a scream the singer does that just sounds sick. And he does it a few times in the song. Like that caught me off guard, like, ooh, that was a nice scream. I enjoyed that. So, I'd say, like, I guess I'm a bit pleasantly surprised at this album. I did generally enjoy it. Mm. It's around like 53 or so minutes. It's in the 50-minute range.
53.
I feel like for what it is, it might be a bit long.
Okay.
But it was still overall, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I felt like this album was fun album, overall enjoyable, but nothing special.
Yeah.
I don't really have any specific notes about specific songs, but I felt that there was a lot of really cool headbanging moments, some crunchy riffs, some nice bounce to it. They cap it off with a cover of Eric Clapton's Cocaine, which I thought was kind of cool.
They call it Cocaine, they did a Spanish version of it, which is cool.
But like TV Fish said, there's something a little bit off with the vocals, and I know it's just how this band sounds, but if you're not used to it and you're not really kind of, maybe you gotta be in the right mood for it, but there's something that's a little bit off-putting about it, a little bit sour tasting about how the vocals align with the music sometimes. So I do agree with what TV Fish said, but yeah, I think it's a fun band, I think it's a fun album, and you can definitely mosh to it, you can definitely headbang to it, have a good time listening to it. Fun album overall. I'll probably check it out again at some point. It's 16 songs too, which is pretty beefy.
It's a lot.
For an album. And yes, it is 53 minutes, but yeah, that's 16 songs. So, you're getting your time's worth out of it.
Yeah.
But is that too much? Are the songs different enough for what they are? That's, up for debate, I guess. So yeah, decent, but on to the next one.
All right, well, next let's talk about Stone by Baroness. Okay. This is like their first album not named after a color. Unless you consider Stone a color, but like the last album was called Golden Gray, so you kind of already have that, the gray color of a stone, so breaking new ground for this band.
I mean, stone gray is a color, but if you don't specify the gray, I guess it's just the material.
Anyway, I got hip to this band somewhat recently. A buddy of mine showed them to me, he's into them, and I liked what I heard, and the main thing that came to me when I heard this band was like, wow, this sounds like the chiller aspect of Mastodon.
Okay.
Like the riffs, even the way the kind of vocals sound remind me a bit of Ron Dahler's vocals. Mm-hmm, and I like it. I enjoy it. I thought it sounded good. Last Word starts with this cool drum intro. I thought that was neat. And that was kind of like the story of the experience. Was like, okay, this sounds like Mastodon, but is it too much? Didn't really feel like it mattered. Because I just liked what I heard. Yeah. I'm just like, yeah, this might sound like that other band, but I don't care. And it's not like a carbon copy. It's just like, if you like Mastodon, this will remind you of that. But if you like Mastodon, you will like this too, because it gives you exactly what you like. You know what I mean?
I do.
Like what you're already into, you're going to find that here.
I do agree that it has elements of Mastodon. I did write a note, actually, that it reminds me of Mastodon, but I don't think it's that close. But the weird thing about music is everybody kind of hears it differently, right? And you hear different parallels of things. So I think you feel a lot stronger about that than I do. But the comparisons are definitely there, just not as strong for me. I feel like it sounded a lot like Protest the Hero in some of these songs. It gets groovy, it's really funky. in some parts. It never really gets that super heavy. It's a very chill album for what it is. There's a lot of vocal harmonies and guitar harmonies on here that I really liked. A couple, like the intro track, for example, and there's also a interlude track called The Dirge, which is acoustic with singing harmonies. It kind of gives you like a campfire goombaya type of vibe. But they're short, that's like a minute long, right? Just something to break up the pace, give you a bit of a breather on the album, which is nice. Standout track for me, Beneath the Rose, which is track 3, I thought was really good. Track 2 was really good as well.
Beneath the Rose is like one of the harder songs too.
Beneath the Rose is one of the harder songs, just sounds really rad. I really like the smooth transition into the next song, Choir, and it lasts, that transition goes into Choir, and Choir is really good for a bit, but then Choir gets really weird, and I'm like, oh, what the hell did they do? Because it turns into this thing where like, the vocalist is like kind of almost talking or yelling just over the music in the background.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like stuff.
It's just stuff, and it's like, I might have to listen to it a couple times and get familiar with it to like understand why they made that choice and if I actually like it or not. And then there's, you know, track number 8, Magnolia. It's almost like a dreamlike instrumental with these harmonized vocals over top of it. Nice. Yeah, and then it picks up. That's the song that has Mastodon vibes for me. But it ends up dragging a bit. Like, it's one of the longer songs on the album. I don't know if it's the long. It's almost 8 minutes long. But anyways, overall, I have very similar thoughts about this album that I did with Shade Empire, in the sense that I didn't quite know what to expect, and I was pleasantly surprised with what I got. So there's a lot of elements going on that I felt like each song had a personality to it, which is something that I'm always looking for. And I feel like there was a lot of stuff to groove to, headbang to, interesting things here and there. Vocally, I liked a lot of the harmonies they were doing. I think I mentioned that already. But yeah, overall, I think this album was really good. And yeah, good solid first impression for Stone on
I think this album has like a lot of really good riffs, and I noticed that like pretty quickly, like this riff's good, and I like the emotional nature of this album as well, and I look forward to listening to it more, and really just like, sometimes you sit down with an album, you listen to it, and you really go on the journey that the music is taking you. This is definitely the kind of album that will do that for you,
right?
And I like that. And you know, the intro Magnolia is a good example of like really enveloping yourself in the music that way. But yeah, overall I did enjoy it. One small thing to mention is Shine has like a xylophone, or they sound more like bells, but in the background before the quiet part, which is pretty neat. It's a bit subtle, and you know, to catch that on a first listen is like, wow, you know, what other secrets are in this album that we didn't even notice?
Yeah, you never know. Probably lots of stuff.
Yep.
All right, last but not least, War of Being by TesseracT. So TV Fish is a big fan of TesseracT. I'm a moderate fan of TesseracT. I dig some of the stuff. Most of it is okay. We reacted to the title track, right? 11-minute long epic song. Had a pretty cool video with samurais fighting and stuff like that. It was like cool, animated or whatever. Really dug that. For me personally, just sticking on the topic of this specific song, the video helps a lot when I'm watching the video, because I'm pretty sure when we reacted to it, I was into it quite thoroughly. Listening to the song without the video, I feel like it drags a bit, but I feel like it's the kind of song you would fawn over. Like, it's right up TV Fish's alley, so I know that. But that song aside, unless you have comments about that song specifically.
I mean, no, nothing specific, but I do enjoy that song still.
Yeah, so the song that stood out to me the most, I should say, for my overall impressions of them were good but not great. I feel like when it delivers, it really delivers, but there's a lot of padding in between those delivery moments, for me anyway. But the song that stood out to me the most was track number 3, The Gray. Super punchy, energetic intro. Felt like it was just captivating. It just got my attention. I was just into it. Slap bass, the flow, the vibes, it just feels so good. Really well written, well orchestrated. The problem with this song is the last minute and a half is basically nothing. There's just like it's almost silent, but there's just like some weird noises and stuff that happens, some weird ambience and stuff. And I feel like that's the kind of stuff that really only sounds good when you're high. Like, if I'm just like, I don't smoke weed anymore, but back in the day, if I were to smoke a joint and lay down listening to this, and then it kind of got quiet, I'd hear these noises, I'd be kind of like tripping out, whatever, and then it bleeds into the next song, and then this next song starts, and that's kind of like a holy shit, what kind of roller coaster am I on kind of moment. That's kind of like,
is this?
what plan is it? That's kind of the vibe I get from moments like this. But if I'm not in that mind state, if I'm not tripping out or anything like that, it feels like just wasted space and wasted time to me. So unfortunately, that doesn't hit with me. At one point in my life, it might have, but right now it doesn't. So it hurts me that the best song on the album has this stain on the end of it. The silver lining is that I can just press the skip button and skip to the next song once that part starts.
Yeah, it's not like it's at the beginning. It's
not
end.
Exactly. So that's the silver lining. But other than that, like I said, the album has some hits, but it has some padding too that I just can't quite get over. But still, overall, pretty enjoyable listen. I'm not gonna lie. So they're great musicians, great songwriters.
Yeah. Speaking of the Gray, that was, I believe, their second single. We unfortunately did not get the chance to react to it. I wish we did, because I remember, one day we finished up, did all our reactions that day, and then I checked it out afterwards, and I'm like, oh my god, this song's sick! This song is a good example as to what I love so much from this band. The grooves are just filthy. You're just jumping, bouncing, like, yeah, this is kick-ass. Like, everyone sounds tight, everyone sounds good. It's just super duper awesome, and this album is full of that. Earlier on, it kind of felt a bit on the chuggier side. I'm like, okay, are they going the Periphery route? Because Periphery definitely got pretty chuggy on the new album that they released this year. But then I noticed something that was actually comparable to the new Periphery album, is that a lot of songs have a lot of dead space at the end. You mentioned that with the Gray.
Yeah.
It's like stuff, and then the stuff bleeds into the next track. So it's like, okay, it is this smooth transition, yes, but I wish either, in some cases, maybe it could be an intro to the next song as opposed to an outro of the current song, or you just make it shorter. Have it bleed, but like don't make it like a minute long, make it like 10 seconds. 20 seconds max.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like nothing too crazy.
Not a minute and a half. That's
overkill. Not a minute and a half. Echoes. Groovy as fuck. Groovy. Any song on this album I could write, yeah, there's groovy in here. Like that's just like kind of the album.
Yeah.
But when the band comes back after the quiet part, it's like walking out right in front of a semi-truck on the highway. Hits you so fucking hard. When I heard that, I'm like, whoa, okay, we're back. It was so awesome. I love that. And another song I want to mention is Legion. It might not be the best track, like, musically on the album, but the vocal performance on this song is just ridiculous. And I think that, goes to show for just the whole album's vocal performance. But that song specifically, like, the highs this guy's hitting, and the fact that he's got the harshest, and, like, this guy's just got the full package in terms of vocal musicianship. Like, very, very, very good stuff. So I did enjoy War of Being, and I look forward to listening to it more.
Yeah, I think I'm going to listen to all these albums more throughout the year before we, do our final year-end video to get a better opinion of each. But we have to choose one to review this week, and we had a big, long discussion about this before recording this video because
it's a tough decision.
It's a tough decision, and we basically have three solid contenders. Brujeria is good, but we didn't really. Both were. It was at the bottom of both our lists, basically.
Yeah, and like keep in mind, like when we're deciding this, we got to decide which album we're gonna like put on for a week straight.
Yeah.
And some albums are fun and maybe fun to put on once in a while, but like, are we interested in putting on this Brujeria album for a week straight? Maybe not.
Yeah. So after all the discussions and kind of giving them kind of pseudo ratings and stuff like that, we've decided that Shade Empire is going to be our choice. So Sun Holy is going to be on full rotation for an entire week. And we'll be back in a week to give you guys our full and final review of that album. So for now, leave your thoughts down below and let us know what you think of all these albums, plus any other albums that might have come up today that you checked out. And especially Shade Empire, let us know what you think of that. And tell us down below. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
I'll see you guys on the next one.